Hi, I'm Antonio Centeno. I'm the founder of Real Men, Real Style. Today, I'm here to give you 10 not so common but powerful speaking tips. Anytime you're giving a public presentation, you can use these. And I went out there and I read quite a few of the articles on the web. And some of them are pretty good, some of them not so good. And I found that a lot of these were missing. They weren't out there. So I'm hoping that as you watch this, you're going to say, hey, I didn't know that one, and I'm going to use it in my presentation coming up. Now, before we get started, I would appreciate it if you would like the video. That way more men and women find this. And if you want more information, if you want to have these videos delivered right to you, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I think I've talked about this in a couple of my other videos, but I've got these new ghost videos, which only come to subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, you're not going to see the video, and I guess that's okay with you, but okay, so let's go ahead and move right on. So speaking, why is it important? Guys, speaking is one of the most engaging things that you can do. I feel it's actually something, if you have something to teach, we have a responsibility, I feel, to help others. And getting in front of a group is incredibly powerful. Yet, it's one of those things that so many of us are afraid. So many of us are fearful that something bad's going to happen. Believe me, nothing bad is going to happen. I have frozen up in front of a crowd and they still coaxed me and I was able to get through it. It was painful, but it happened. So let's go ahead and start off with number one. Number one is go watch others. So whenever I was at New Media Expo in Las Vegas, I had the opportunity to go sit in and watch over a dozen other speakers. And it was great to be able to see them and to see how they presented the different styles. One of my favorites, a guy named Ian Cleary out of Dublin, Ireland, an amazing speaker and now a good friend. But watching him, the way that he could carry himself and move. And then there were some other speakers which weren't nearly as great. And that actually gave me a bit of confidence because I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm not going to be as good as Ian, but I can do better. You know, I think I can carry a crowd a little bit better than those guys. So sometimes it's nice when you see others and you realize how far you've come. So number one, go watch others. Number two, relax. So I have to admit, before I was going to give my presentations, and at New Media Expo in Las Vegas, I had 2 presentations in less than a 24-hour period. The second one, I just kind of jumped on it. I was given the opportunity. I said, sure, I'll do it. And I literally was building the slides minutes before I was going to be up on stage. So that one was cutting it a bit close. But I was pretty darn nervous. You know why I was nervous? Because a friend of mine named Pat Flynn, he had shared like 2 months before how he prepares for a presentation. And it was intimidating. I had never read of anyone being this prepared. Literally, he was putting in, I don't know, like 70 to 80 hours of preparation for one 40-minute speech or presentation. And I was just blown away at how he had broken this out because I did not prepare to that level. But then, you know, when I gave my presentations, it went really well. So I ended up talking to Pat about it, probably, I don't know, 24 hours before my presentation. And he was, Antonio, relax. You're going to do fine. It's just me. This is the way I have to do it because I'm so nervous, because I just am so scared of getting in front of the crowd. And then I realized, you know, I don't have that fear of getting in front of the crowd. So maybe I don't have to prepare as much as Pat, and I can still get the 80 to 90% solution. And that's exactly what happened. In fact, the presentation I didn't have as much time to prepare for, I feel I did better in simply because I followed some of these other steps. So let's get into number 3. So number 1, really quick, watch others. Number 2, relax. And number 3 is arrive early. I know it seems kind of obvious, huh? But the first presentation that I gave, I was actually there 15 minutes early. And this is why it was important. There was a little bit of an issue with people getting into the presentation. So if I hadn't been there early, I couldn't have been there to catch that and to get in some of my friends who I wanted to have in that presentation. And there's even a better story than mine. A guy named Chris Ducker. He runs Virtual Staff Finder, amazing company. But they were not letting in a lot of his audience or his tribe, people that follow his website and his blog. And he went out there and made a fuss. And it was, I don't know the true story, but they did call security on him. But you can believe when he got up there and he presented 10 minutes later that people were giving him they were clapping when he stepped on stage because he stood up for them. He was there early, and he, in a sense, he made friends very early in his presentation. It didn't matter what he said. You know what was being tweeted at, on Twitter and all these other platforms? People were talking about how Chris Ducker stood up for me. So arrive early, and I'm not saying that you need to get into a fight, but shake hands, meet people, because that takes us to number 4. Know your audience. So this part, I'm going to say the demographic. Look around and find out what's the background of the people here. One of the presentations I gave was talking about the military, and I was talking about my experience as a Marine and how that has served me in the business world. Now, I had surveyed the audience before, and I knew that about 25% of the audience were veterans. So that gave me a good idea, if I were to say some military jargon, that I could bring in others, that I wasn't going to be speaking to a deaf crowd. If there were no veterans out there, then I would have focused my speech a little bit differently. But that I knew I had that audience. I was able to play with that demographic. So look at the backgrounds of people. Find out who, I was giving a presentation on video. Find out how many people are already using video. Is this an advanced group, or is this a group that's just starting off? So understand your audience, know the demographic. Number 5 is engage the audience. So this is probably one of my favorite ones because it takes a bit of work, but it can really pay dividends. When I gave my first presentation, and I was nervous, I looked out there and I saw friends. I saw people because I had made the effort for months before to find out who was going to be there, to engage with them. I made sure my friends who were at that event all were out there in the audience. So when I looked out there, there were at least 15 people that I knew by name, that literally 10 of them, I called my friends by that point. And it felt great that if I ever felt stuck, I could look over and see a smiling face, a cheerleader, somebody, saying, hey, I've got you. Come on, Antonio, you can do great. When you look out there and you're talking to your friends, it's so much easier. Eye contact. So when you're looking around and you're talking to people, look them right in the eye. Let them know that they matter. Look them right in the eye and talk to them. And you're going to find, and when you start shaking your head and you're looking at them, they're going to come out of their smartphone. They're going to come out of their computer. They're going to take a little bit of action. It's really cool when you can look at somebody and ask them if they agree, and look right at them and shake your head, and they agree even though they're on the other side of the room. And it almost looks like you're looking at 20 different people. But people can really pick up on that. In addition, by connecting with your audience, you kind of have a good idea of the experts that are out there. So we're talking about knowing your audience, engaging your audience. You can almost call them a little bit of the same, but one of the things I like when I really know my audience is I can ask a question. Like, let's say I was speaking, John Loomer, he's a Facebook expert and he was a good friend of mine. I actually went to undergrad with him. He was out there in the audience and I was able to bring up something about Facebook and then immediately look over and ask John to reinforce what I just said and to, expand on it for maybe just a couple seconds. This gave me time to go over and grab a drink of water. But what it really allowed is, hey, I just brought in a Facebook expert. John is happy because, hey, I just recognized him in front of a group as being one of the preeminent experts on Facebook. And here I am in this presentation being able to, act like I know people, because I do, and bring in an expert to validate what I'm saying. So all of this right here with engage the audience. All right, so quite a bit on that one. Number 6, always carry a tomahawk. No, just kidding. Okay, if you know my military background, bonus for anyone in the comments who can identify which branch of the service loves the tomahawk. And for the Marines, it's the K-bar, so it's not us. But number 6 is to bring in stories. So you guys love stories, huh? And you're probably wondering, what is the story behind that tomahawk? Well, you're going to have to wait. I do have a story behind it, but people love stories. Instantly, our ears we're just, so anytime you can bring in a story, do it, but keep the story pointed. Don't go all over the place. It's very easy to have a story go to 5 to 10 minutes and you can lose people. So make sure that the story is scripted and that you can focus back in on a single point. Number 7, be vulnerable. This is really hard for a lot of people to do because they think being vulnerable is maybe joking about yourself or something like that. No, I find that the best presentations are the ones that you can strike a deep chord with people. One of the things And here's me being vulnerable. Suicide is something that's very personal to me. It's affected my family. It's affected me when I was in the Marines. And it's something that I'm active in trying to help people get help that need it. And it's something I will bring up in a presentation. Not that I want to, not that I want to make anyone feel bad. I simply want to say I stand for something. I am not afraid to talk about what I believe in. And you wouldn't believe how many people come up to you afterwards when you're a bit vulnerable and they're like, I have had the same experience, or gosh, I've got to tell you my story. It is amazing how deeply you can connect with people when you're willing to just open up and be yourself. Okay, so number 8, move around. Own the room. Don't feel that you got to stand behind that podium. I see people give presentation after presentation and they just stand behind the podium. Whenever we ran the military track at New Media Expo in Vegas, and my buddy John Dumas, he runs Entrepreneur on Fire. He's like, okay, we only had like 20 people in this room for the presentation. He's like, let's change it up. And so we opened up the center of the room and we created a circle of chairs and we did a hot seat. And that was really cool. We had all of these entrepreneurs there talking with entrepreneurs just starting off. And John Dumas, the guy is just killing it over at Entrepreneur on Fire and making 6 figures a month. And he was there able to give one-on-one advice to guys, talking with them. He's a former Army vet too, by the way. So, got to love those veterans going out there and kicking butt. But John was able to give a lot of value to the guy because he owned the room and he changed up. Instead of it looking like an empty room, it was a very intimate experience that everyone who was there walked away saying, wow, that was one of the best presentations. I really enjoyed it. So number 9, have some good questions and don't be afraid to let people ask you questions. But if people don't ask you questions, you should have a couple in your back pocket, some FAQs to make sure you get it rolling. I had some questions that were a little bit out there, and I like to be able to bring them back to some of the most frequently asked questions, which I know are going to be of value to the audience. Number 10, stick around. Okay, so make time at the end to connect with people. I know every time I presented, there were lines of people that would want to speak to me afterwards. Make time. Maybe you can't speak to every single one of them for 10 minutes, but what you can say is, here's my card, send me a quick message. Perhaps we can talk, 30 minutes from now, a few hours from now, let's take it outside and we can talk out in the hall. But make time for people because this is really important. No matter what happens in your presentation, remember, most people are going to forget almost everything that you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Make sure that you are helping people, that you are serving them. Try to find a way that you can find common ground and solve their problems. And they're going to remember that you made them feel great, that you made them feel important. And I can tell you, if you do that in your presentation, it'll be a kick butt presentation. All right. Okay, guys, go out there, take care, and present with style. Bye-bye.